Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanadari Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanadari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanadari Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanadari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanadari Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Yasoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Gora Nitai, Jaya Gora Nitai. Jaya Gora Nitai, Jaya Gora Nitai. Gora Nitai, Jaya Gora Nitai. Jaya Kṛṣṇa Balaram, Kṛṣṇa Balaram, Kṛṣṇa Balaram, Jaya Vrindavan Dham. Jaya Kṛṣṇa Balaram, Jaya Kṛṣṇa Balaram, Kṛṣṇa Balaram, Jaya Vrindavan Dham. Kṛṣṇa Balaram, Jaya Vrindavan Dham. Jaya Radhe Shyam, Jaya Radhe Shyam, Lalita Vishaka, Jaya Radhe Shyam. Jaya Radhe Shyam, Jaya Radhe Shyam, Lalita Vishaka, Jaya Radhe Shyam. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Jayam Vishnu Paramahansa Parvakacharya Dasera Satashri Shriman. His Divine Loving Grace A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananda Koi Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki. Brahmashika Shri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Gadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Kṛṣṇa Gopinath Samakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki. Shri Mati Tulsi Devi Ki. Shri Mati Bhakti Devi Ki. Samaveda Bhaktivinda Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Well, thank you everyone for attending. You stalwart devotees. So nice to be in association of devotees discussing scriptures. It like churns our hearts. It creates love for Kṛṣṇa, deeper understanding. And I appreciate the devotees who are steady and attending classes. It's so good for our devotional creeper. So this evening we're studying from chapter 13, verse 31, Nature, Enjoyer, and Consciousness. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yadā bhūta-pṛthag-bhāvam. Eka-stham anupaśyati. Tata cha vistāraṁ. Brahma sampadyate tadā. Yadā bhūta-pṛthag-bhāvam eka-stham anupaśyati tata cha vistāraṁ brahma sampadyate tadā. Yadā bhūta-pṛthag-bhāvam eka-stham anupaśyati tata cha vistāraṁ brahma sampadyate tadā.
Yadā bhūta-pṛthag-bhāvam
Yadā bhūta-pṛthag-bhāvam
eka-stham anupaśyati
eka-stham anupaśyati
tata cha vistāraṁ brahma sampadyate tadā.
brahma sampadyate tadā.
Yadā bhūta-pṛthag-bhāvam
Yadā bhūta-pṛthag-bhāvam
eka-stham anupaśyati
eka-stham anupaśyati
tata
cha vistāram
brahma sampadyate tadā.
brahma sampadyate tadā.
Yadā bhūta-pṛthag-bhāvam
Yadā bhūta-pṛthag-bhāvam eka-stham anupaśyati
tata cha vistāraṁ
brahma sampadyate tadā.
Yadā bhūta-pṛthag-bhāvam
Yadā bhūta-pṛthag-bhāvam
eka-stham anupaśyati
eka-stham anupaśyati
tata cha vistāraṁ
cha vistāram
brahma sampadyate tadā.
brahma sampadyate tadā. Yadā bhūta-pṛthag-bhāvam eka-stham anupaśyati tata cha vistāram brahma sampadyate tadā. Anyone else? Yadā, when bhūta, of living entities, pṛthak-bhāvam, separated identities, eka-stham, situated in one, anupaśyati, one tries to see through authority, tata eva, thereafter, cha, also, vistāraṁ, the expansion, brahma, the absolute, sampadyate, he attains, tadā, at that time. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. When a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. Please repeat. When a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. When one can see that the various bodies of living entities arise due to the different desires of the individual soul and do not actually belong to the soul itself, one actually sees. In the material conception of life, we find someone a demigod, someone a human being, a dog, a cat, etc. This is material vision, not actual vision. This material differentiation is due to a material conception of life. After the destruction of the material body, the spirit soul is one. The spirit soul, due to contact with material nature, gets different types of bodies. When one can see this, he attains spiritual vision. Thus, being freed from differentiations like man, animal, big, low, etc., one becomes purified in his consciousness and able to develop Kṛṣṇa consciousness in his spiritual identity. How he then sees things will be explained in the next verse. Umakinatimirandasya jananjana salakaya chaksun yena tasmai shri gurave namah shri chaitanya manobhistam sapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa gadanmayam dadanti svapadantekam vandeham shri guru shri yuta parakamalam shri gurum vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvarutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopisa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosude Tapta Kanchana Korange Radhe Vindavaneshwari Vishavanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapatruvyaschā Kripa Sindhu Payevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada. So it is described here that the dualities are born from our own material and mental conceptions. There are various bodies in which the living entity has a choice of. And the soul can enter any one of these 8,400,000 different species. These material bodies offer a variety of different ways the living entity can enjoy and suffer and try to lord it over the material nature. There are also the three modes of material nature, which have a tremendous ability to interact with each other, creating many, many varieties. In fact, it's 8,400,000 different species. The different forms are produced from the interaction of the three modes of material nature. The soul, as we know, is eternal, spiritual, but it is of the marginal energy of the Lord. It has the ability to associate with material or the spiritual energies, in which the soul can become conditioned accordingly. It's like the space on a beach. When you have the low tide, the water pulls out, retracts away from the shore. And there's a space that was underwater when the water was there, but when it retracts back, it dries because of the sun, the heat. You can walk on it, play on it, sit on it, and not be near the water. However, when the tide comes in, it covers this area completely, and this area becomes part of the ocean. And the fish are swimming over it, the waves are going over it. Similarly, living entities, we have the ability to associate with either the spiritual or the material energies of the Lord. The Lord has this pleasure potency that can divide into two different energies, Yogamaya and Mahamaya. Yogamaya energy is that which maintains and ever expands into wonderful, wonderful facilities for loving relationships between the pure soul and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa. Mahamaya, on the other hand, has an energy that throws the living entity down from one's original consciousness, then keeps him covered, not allowing him to see his true nature and not allowing him to see Kṛṣṇa everywhere. So when we are covered by this Maya potency, this Mahamaya material energy, we are endlessly entangled. The living entity identifies with the material energy. And the dualities of material life become the only reality of our existence. We struggle with the material creation to try to avoid the negative aspects of the dualities and try to acquire the positive side of the dualities. Happiness instead of distress, peace instead of anxiety, wealth instead of poverty, health instead of disease, knowledge instead of ignorance. The whole material existence is based on this concept of trying to avoid pain and attain pleasure. Trying so hard to be honored and to do whatever we can to avoid being dishonored. In this way, human life is wasted by one being absorbed in trying to avoid the negative side effects of the material energy. The Bhagavad-Gita explains the dualities are inherent in the material energy. We cannot have one without the other. We cannot have pleasure without pain. They are both of the same nature. The example is given there are two sides of a coin. We may prefer the face of the coin and not like the tail of the coin. However, once we pick up that coin, we have both. And similarly, once we take to the material nature, we have both the pain and the pleasure. Similarly, if we want to avoid hatred, disease, pain, dishonor, we have to renounce the pleasures of material life itself. So how do we do this? The impersonalists, the Mayavadis, have their own school of philosophy, and they explain that the illusion, therefore, is everything is an illusion, and we just need to go beyond it. Everything, just accept Brahman as the only existence. Brahman is the only reality. Everything else is an illusion, a dream, and does not exist. Therefore, make your heart and mind like a stone without feeling, without anything, just be aloof. That's considered the greatest satisfaction in the Mayavadi school of thoughts. But how is that? Every living entity, upon entering any species, any material body, immediately is searching for love, reciprocation, pleasure. Is it really the highest perfection of life that one becomes so stone-hearted, so aloof from the conception of love? In order for there to be love, there must be a conception of duality. There must be a lover and a beloved. And there must be love itself. To the degree the exchange of love between the lover and the beloved is attracted to the souls. We desire ecstasy. The soul is searching for ecstasy. However, now we are searching for ecstasy in the wrong place, in the mortal material world, where there is only the reflection of love mixed with the dualities of material suffering. Kṛṣṇa tells Arjuna in the 7th chapter, he says, besides these, O mighty armed Arjuna, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego, there is another superior energy of mind who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. He goes on to explain how he is the source of everything, all opulences, all strength, all beauty, all knowledge, all renunciation, all wealth, all fame. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like his. Thus, one is not born at the time of creation, nor disturbed at the time of dissolution. Therefore, the Bhagavad-Gita teaches we should seek ecstasy where it can actually be found, because Kṛṣṇa's nature is unlimited. Only he can give unlimited pleasure to the living entity. to their hearts and their souls. This material world is not an illusion, but it is temporary. That is illusory. All the dualities are temporary. If we seek pleasure in this temporary place, that's an illusion. The world is not of the substance of the spirit soul. It's different. To understand these principles is to understand the process of bhakti, achinta bheda veda tata. We are simultaneously inconceivable, one with and different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya came to this world to make this philosophy logical and very easy to understand. When he spoke with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Prakashananda Saraswati on the basis of scripture and logic and philosophy, he authoritatively established the soul is the eternal servant of the personality of Godhead. That the conception of merging into Brahman, being one with it, is an inferior realization and a temporary realization. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made it very simple for the common people and the greatest scholars to understand. When he was just a young child, known as Nimai, the son of Sachimata, she prepared some nice fried rice and sandesh for him. He was outside playing. Yogamaya, oftentimes, to increase the facility of ecstatic love, she covers Krishna's opulences. In this sense, Sachimata was just seeing Nimai as her little boy, just her son, who she was wanting to serve some sandesh and fried rice to. The love of a mother for her child is a lot more intense than a servant for a master. So loving the Supreme Lord as a child is a much more intimate than loving him as the Supreme Lord, controller and destroyer of everything. This is not something that can be imitated. We can't jump to it. We can't pretend it. When we become completely pure in our hearts and realize in the path of bhakti, then Krishna will naturally reveal these more intimate relationships to his devotees. So Sachi Devi took Nimai, who was playing outside, these wonderful preparations she prepared with great love and devotion. Nimai started picking up handfuls of dirt and eating it. Handful after handful. When Sachi Devi became aware of this, she immediately intervened and started chastising him, as any mother would naturally do. And Nimai began to cry, as any child would naturally do. And he said, "Mother, why are you chastising me? You gave me dirt, so I'm eating dirt." Sachimata said, "I didn't give you dirt. I gave you fried rice and sandesh." Whereas Nimai replied, "Well, that's just a transformation of earth. Everything is just a transformation of earth. Don't you see that everything is one?" And Sachimata replied, "Yes, that's true. Everything is a transformation of earth. But if you eat sandesh and fried rice, you will be healthy and strong and live long. But if you eat dirt, you'll get diseased and sick." She went on to explain, if you put water into a clay pot, you can carry it anywhere. If you pour it onto the dirt, all you get is mud. So Nimai says, "Mata, why didn't you tell me this before? I've been eating dirt. I just want your milk now." So Mother Sachi Devi, a simple woman and a mother and wife, completely defeated the Mayavadi philosophy that everything is one. Yes, everything is one and at the same time simultaneously different. Achinta Veda Veda Tata. The difference in the material world are functional and necessary to appreciate and respect. In the spiritual world, those differences are eternal, and it's those differences that support and facilitate ecstatic, loving exchanges between Krishna and his devotees. There are three aspects of the absolute truth, Sat, Chit, Ananda. The oneness of everything being spiritual is Sat. The all-knowing potency of the Lord within the heart of every living being is called Chit. And the duality, the variegatedness of the spiritual world that eternally exists to provide and facilitate wonderful, wonderful facilities of loving exchanges is the Ananda potency of the Supreme Lord known as Haladini. This is Krishna's potency. From that point on, Nimai, Lord Chaitanya was very strongly establishing the position of the eternal soul as the eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As this verse says, when a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how things are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. So these differences are due to the living entity's desire and karma. It's only a temporary situation. When we think how expansive time is, it is all so insignificant. As a devotee, it's actually offensive to identify another devotee with their material body, to see them as a certain nationality, or to see them as a certain size, or to see them in a certain caste, or to identify them as male or female. We want to identify the devotees with spirit, soul, and the Lord in their heart. When we can see on this platform, we won't have difficulties in our personal dealings with others because we will be dealing on a spiritual level. One thing about Srila Prabhupada, which I wish I could share with you, is the way when he came into a room, he acknowledged everyone in that room in such a way that he didn't see the material or mental body. He saw the living entity, the spirit soul, and he acknowledged in a very personal way. He saw the potential of the devotee. He saw the devotee as bringing Kṛṣṇa great pleasure. He never ignored anyone, but treated the devotees equally. When he looked at you, it wasn't your material body or situation. It was more about your potential. He saw in us how we could please Kṛṣṇa. A material personality will look at people and think, how can this person please my senses? If we just go outside to the street here, and just a short amount of time, we will be approached by all kinds of people looking at us to satisfy something. Like the ladies who go around with the stamp on the forehead, or the vendors trying to sell you something, or the long line of rickshaws, one after the other, asking you if you want to ride when you just want to cross the street. It's actually so intense here. It can kind of be intimidating. So whenever Srila Prabhupada went, wherever he went, he was very nicely received. Once there was a lecture he gave at a college. He gave many lectures at college, but in this particular one, during this particular time in the 70s, the drugs and sex were considered a type of right for everyone. Free sex, free drugs were very common, especially in the colleges. But Srila Prabhupada gave such a strong speech about following the four regulative principles. And the devotees became a little uncomfortable, worried that, oh, what's going to happen? Are the students going to get up and leave? Are they going to walk out? Or worse, maybe they'll start yelling something. They were all very concerned. But when the lecture was finished, there was an ecstatic kirtan, and they all participated very nicely. They loved Srila Prabhupada. One devotee asked Prabhupada later, how is it this happens to you? He said, because I'm not envious of them. There wasn't anything he wanted other than to give pure love of Kṛṣṇa to them. There's nothing they had to offer him. In the Nectar of Instruction, it talks about the different classes of devotees, Kanishta, Majjhima, and Uttama Adhikari. It's explained that the Kanishta Adhikari can only really appreciate the deity of the Lord. he doesn't appreciate other devotees so well. And that way you see bickering and difficulties. The Majjhima Adhikari makes distinctions between devotees and the demons and the innocent. And then the Uttama Adhikari. The Uttama Adhikari is the humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater. The Uttama Adhikari, however, has to come back down to the platform of the Majjhima Adhikari in order to preach, because a preacher needs to make distinctions. Needs to make distinctions between who's innocent, who's a demon, and who's a devotee. The Uttama Adhikari is seeing everyone as serving Kṛṣṇa. If you know the story of Sukadeva, you know he was in the womb for like 14 years. When he finally left the womb, he became self-realized because his father was reading Srimad Bhagavatam to him. And once he took birth, he left home immediately. He didn't want to get distracted by householder life, by anything. He just wanted to find Kṛṣṇa. And as he was going through the forest, leaving home, his father, when he went after him. And as Sukadeva Goswami was walking, he came upon women bathing in the river, and they weren't dressed. But they didn't bother to grab their clothes because they saw he was Uttama Adhikari, completely disinterested in the material conceptions. Whereas when his father came by shortly thereafter, they immediately grabbed their clothes and put them on. So, Uttama Adhikari is a very special personality. And we must always be kind and respectful to everyone. We want to create a culture of respect in ISKCON, especially to the devotees. Srila Prabhupada said, we will attract people by how we treat each other. Even if they haven't become Kanishta Adhikari, we need to encourage people to chant Hare Krishna. So even though we don't want a material conception of life, we understand the temporary nature of this material world. On one level, we act accordingly. But at the same time, we know we need to have respect for everyone, and we need to understand who everyone is. Everyone is Nityasiddha Das, eternal servant of Kṛṣṇa. As Lord Chaitanya says, that this chanting will cleanse our heart. It will take us to a higher consciousness. Chaitodarpanam Arjunam Baba Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vijavatu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Patipatam Panamistasvardhanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Kṛṣṇa Sankirtan. Glory to the Shri Kṛṣṇa Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. That Sankirtan movement is a prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Along with that, we need Trinadapi, Sunichina, Tanorapi, Sadishina, Amanina, Manadena, Kirtanaya, Sadahari. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. And also, we need to remember Nandanam Najanman Nasandarim Kavitam Jagat Ishvare Karmani Mama Jamani Jamanishvare Bhagavad Bhaktir Hoitiki Tvayi. Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. If we can follow these instructions of Lord Chaitanya and take on this mentality, work on it, that's what it's about. It's that we come to these classes and we study and we learn, but now the next step is to apply it to our lives. Then we can be released from this material world of dualities. We can enter the spiritual atmosphere even within this world. We can see Kṛṣṇa everywhere. But as long as we identify ourselves with this material body, we will also identify others with their material bodies. This identification causes difficulty. Yadā bhūta-pṛthag-bhāvam eka-stham anupaśyati tadā cha vistāraṁ brahma sampadyate tadā. When a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. So stay tuned for tomorrow for the explanation of what that vision is. You have any comments, questions, revelation? All righty. Well, thank you very much for coming. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Glories to Sri Bhagavad-Gita. Ananta Koi Vaishnavindaki Jai. Hare Krishna.